Salü Bissàme, greetings everyone, I'm Sebastian, and today I'm going to start a new project. This project is answering to 2022 questions for RPGaDay. What is RPGaDay? For those who don't know, it's an initiative where you have to answer 31 questions along the month of August. I know we're in the just at the 1st of September, but I did the first. I did the question earlier in my native language, French, and I'm trying to do something in English because the main language of the event is in English, so I make an effort and try to be heard by more people and share with more people. So yeah. As I said, I'm Sebastian. As I already know, I live in France, more precisely in Strasbourg, which is a town in a big city in Alsace. And I won't go into much more detail about me. You don't need. Just know I've been playing RPGs for something like 20 years. And I mainly played D20, sorry. And I'm going to start answering questions probably in a quicker way that I did in French, because I don't want this video to last more than 1 hour. My goal is to manage to make it into 45 minutes, so a minute and a half, maybe faster. I don't know. Let's see where it goes. So just let me change to the view of the question for this year here. So, and let's just start. Who would you like to introduce to RPGs? So I'll say the same thing as I say in French, just quicker. So I already introduced to RPGs my friends, and most of them were already playing, so I don't have really someone in my list that I want to introduce to RPG, but I gladly do to anyone who wants to learn a new system or discover a universe. That's what is going to happen to me and a couple of friends in a few weeks, maybe a month or two. I don't know. Depends on of the calendar now. Everyone can have some free time, so we'll see. Question number 2. What is a great introductory RPG? So let me switch to the main view back again. Sorry for the first one. I just forgot. Just throw myself into it and we'll see. So what's a great introductory RPG? It's easy. It's one where the Dungeon Master or whatever title the Gamemaster holds is comfortable enough to improvise and know enough of it. He can chop off some of the more complex module of the game where you don't need to play to introduce the game to someone. For example, if you want to introduce someone to D20, when I do it, usually I reduce the area of characteristics for the character, and I even remove a lot of skills. If I do combat, I do it in a way quicker way and in a more cinematic way than the tactical board game style of the game system that I love, but it's too heavy, I think, to introduce to player, unless you have some really big players of board games that like those kind of games. Then you can go all in and already teach them the fight mechanics in depth. So yeah. So what's a good system to introduce someone? Anything you are comfortable enough, and you're comfortable enough, whether it's the system or the universe, but you need to be able to go smoothly and make it easy for everyone. Okay, so now back to question 3. When were you first introduced to RPGs? So I was first introduced to RPGs, as I said, in the late 90s, early noughties. And I played Call of Cthulhu first with a bunch of teenage friends, and from there I went and discovered a lot of games after. I will talk much more about them in the next question, so I don't go into much detail. But yeah, I started in the late 90s, early noughties. So now back to the board, the RNC. Fourth question: where would you host a first game? Where would I host a first game? It's quite easy. Where everyone's comfortable enough to be. Someone's home. You know, if a library or something allows you to host these kinds of activities, do it. You need to be somewhere where people can go out of the shell easily and trust everyone around the table, so they don't hold back, because that's the biggest difficulty to start to have starting players, is for them to go out of the shells, because you have to go against a lot of things, and it's even truer if they are older, because it's utterly stupid. Why would I play that? No, just do it. Just go. And and you need to be somewhere where people won't be judged. So if it's at home, it's at home. If it's somewhere with people around, then it's in a bar, it's in a library, but somewhere where everyone is comfortable. That's all. So now for question 5. Why would I like this game? So I think, yeah, that's I don't have the book at hand. Sorry. I'll try to put here somewhere the cover for the game. Why would I like this game? I'm talking about Bounty Hunter, made by Guy Sklanders, the host of How to Be a Great GM. And why would I like it? Because it's a RPG system where you don't play with dice. So it's a point system where you spend points to do some skill checks if you want to for them to pass. So, and this skill point pool is this point pool is also your hit points. So you don't have to. So you have to manage between. Sorry, I don't find my words. Having success on skill checks and being in enough of a good shape to have a fight. Or you have to choose, or sometimes you have to flee. So yeah, and that's something. It's way easier because you don't have to think about dice rolls. If that's something that your players, are not comfortable with, because those are strange shape beyond the D6, sorry. Yeah, it's really interesting to have new players start with this game. It's quite a light system. It's in a space opera setting, so sci-fi, heavy sci-fi. You are somewhere around Star Wars, something like this, where you hop from planet to planet to do bounties. That's the core of the game. You can do anything else, of course, but that's the idea. It's the players band together to answer one bounty. Okay, so number 6. How would you get more people playing RPGs? So initially, in my video, I said you need to have more choice, more diversity in gameplay, in settings, in depth. But having listened to a few other content creators, and the answer, the answer that was obvious and I missed was talk more about RPGs. That's what we need, really, to introduce, to give people the curiosity of to come and see what RPG is about. Yeah, they have to. You have to talk about it. You just don't have to be there in the background and say nothing. No, you have to share. You have to talk with passion about it. So yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And last question for this recording session. I will have all the 31 questions and answers in one go, but I'll have to cut because work. So, describe a cool part of a system that you love. I'm going to make a small... I'll have it. I have the book of the game I want to show you. It's here. It's called Warsaw. And my cam is flipped. I'll have to fix that for the next session. Sorry about that. It's Warsaw as the city name. So the Polish city name. And why do I like this system? This game, because in the system it has a really cool way to simulate stress and the effect it has on the body. So just to try to make it easy, when you do a skill check on that on this game, in this game, you have to throw enough d6s to be the sum of your ability score and a skill score. And every one you do a 1 on one of your d6, you are going to lose temporarily 1 point in that ability. But there's a way to prevent this. If you put aside one d6 from your skill, you save yourself from the effect from 1-1. So let's just say I will throw. Let's just say, for the example, doesn't matter, 10d6, and my ability is 6, so my skill is 4. I put 2 from my skill aside, so I only throw 8 dice. And if I make 2 or less 1 in my d6s, I'm safe from the effect. But if a third one is rolled, then I'm going to lose temporarily 1 point in my ability until the next big rest period, if I can talk in d20 lingo. So yeah. That's all for this session. I come back later. And I'm back for the second round, and hopefully I can record everything else in one shot. So let's keep moving on, and let's go to the 8th question. Who introduced you to RPGs? It's easy. It's one of my friends I had in high school. He's called Remy. I didn't credit him in my French video because I just made a mistake, and sorry about that, I forgot, and talked about my second Dungeon Master. So yeah, as I said, it was on Call of Cthulhu. We were teens. It was bad, but it was fun, and that's all that matters. And then I can move on to question 9. What is the second RPG you bought? And I once again forgot to change camera for the first question. Sorry about that. My second RPG I bought is here. Oops, sorry about that. Just try to avoid the glare. GURPS. So for those who don't know, GURPS stand for, I don't know if you can read it, Generic Universal Role-Playing System. It's a system made by Steve Jackson, and it's quite interesting because it's a generic game system, and you have to adapt, and you can create what you want. It's a point-buy system where you create your character by spending points. Everything either costs or gives you back points. If it gives you back points, it's a disadvantage, and you have to roleplay it. If you don't, you'll have to pay those points back before anything else. You can adapt any universe you want. You can use magic, you can use low tech, you can use high tech, you can use psionics, you can use everything you want. It has almost a book for every major setting known, and has a more generic settings too that are more. You have a low tech book, you have a high tech book, you have an ultra tech book. So you can play from the Stone Age to the deep warp speed and faster than light spaceships and everything. So yeah, and it was really fun, and I played for almost 10 years with that system with a group of friends that are now not in the area anymore, so it's hard to. It's about 15 years I haven't played with them, and and I haven't heard of them for about as much. So yeah, let's move on. So question number 10: when did you start game mastering? Almost as soon as I started role playing, because I played a couple times with Call of Cthulhu, and I started mastering it, and because the Remy who introduced me to RPG wanted to play, so I took the Game Master mantle, and when I was in my 20s, I was more a player. On the player side of the game. Now I tend to be in the Game Master side. And even that, now I tend to try to create more than play. And I don't know what's happening with my... Okay, let's just try... Sorry. With my light. So yeah. I try to create a homebrew setting based on a 2D20 system, and it's a hard and long work to do that, and I've been simmering on the idea for now almost 2 years, and yeah, it's hard when work and life goes in a way. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. So 11. If you could live in a game setting, where would it be? That's quite easy. I just have the book in front of me. Star Trek. I'm quite of a Trekkie myself. I play and I watch all the classics from the 90s and the noughties. Even watch the original series, even if I'm not one of those big fan of this one. It really aged a lot, and I think if you hadn't grown watching it, it really will pass you by, even if some episodes are really good. And yeah, I think if you know if you know Star Trek, you know why I would live there. Material need is far a thing of the past. Humanity lives only to better itself, even if everything we fought against is still there, just waiting for us to sleep and just consume us again. So it's really interesting, and I like the fact that if you go by the next generation way of putting a story forward. You don't have internal conflict. The conflict comes from outside to the crew, and that's really good because I get why people want to have infighting, but it's usually frustrating for the game master when it's badly done, and it's often, really often badly done, because players at one moment egos will go in the way, and it will end in in something bad. The table will suffer. So yeah, I tend to avoid. So yeah, that's why if I could live in a setting, it would be Star Trek. So let's go to the next. And I guess I'm already on the Sunday question. So roll 1d8 plus 1 and tag that many friends and suggest new RPGs to try. So I tagged 8 friends. I rolled a 7 when I did it. And I will just throw in a quick fire way all the games I suggested. I won't tag up friends. I just tell you what game I find interesting. Those are not new games in the way they are not released in the last year or so. It's just games that I have that I think would have been interesting to my friends. So I will just propose games to you, and if you see something that's interesting, yeah, just ask question. I'll be able. I think I'll be able to answer it. So the first one, of course, because I have it just under my hand, Star Trek Adventures. If you wanted to play Star Trek, it's in a Star Trek world, even if it's the modern series. I'm not a fan of, but you can do them in this book with this system. There are a lot of resources in other books that cover all the branches of Starfleet, even the Klingons. You have a book for every quadrant of the universe, of the Milky Way. Sorry about that. And you can do what you want and have a lot of fun in it. And with sorry, the word escapes me just right now. With the holodeck, you can do whatever you want. So even if you want to have a break and go to the classic noir stories or made fun stories, you can just go. That's really fun. So yeah. Next book. I think I already talked about it, but I didn't show it to you. So here it is. It's Bounty Hunter, made by Guy Schlander, the host of How to Be a Great GM. I talked about it. If you're interested in, just give it a go. You can find it on a PDF file for not that much. So, and I think there's a spin-off system for a fantasy game, and maybe after he may add an additional book. So we'll see what gives. So yeah. Next game. I bought it because even if the video game that came close to it is a bit bad, has a bad reputation. I played it on PC, and now almost 2 years and a half later, the game is almost fine. I came across a few animation bugs, but nothing game breaking at last. So yeah, the game on PC at least is fine. You can play it, and if you want to play on almost the same universe, you can with that system. I played a bit on the Cyberpunk 2020 version of the game. It was really fun too, but yeah, it's you have to want to live low adventures with low people, and getting through the barriers of this society is hard, and you have to like to live in low places, and sometimes it really brings you down, and it's not a game I like to play often, but it's fun. And to stay in the same genre, but with a post-apocalyptic twist, you have Eclipse Phase. So I'm sorry, I really don't know if those games kept the same name in English. So if you don't find them, I'm sorry. For example, Warsaw that I showed you before, it's a French game made by a French author. I don't have a clue if it has been translated and if you can play it if you're an English speaker. So yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, Eclipse Phase. It's a cyberpunk game with where humanity came across something that's really bad and had to flee Earth. And a lot of people have been saved only by uploading their mind to the net, and they don't have a body anymore. So you in this universe you can upload your mind into a shell if you want, and humanity has colonized almost all the solar system. If I remember it correctly, it's been a while. I haven't played that game. It's a bit darker, but it has this transhuman side even more pushed than in Cyberpunk. So if you want to explore this, you can. It's really interesting if you want to see where a transhuman society will go. And yeah, it's really not that interesting, even if you can go through the human limitation. Yeah, a lot of things are really not fun in this universe, but if you want to see how humanity survive, and if you want to try, or if you want to play in AI, you can. And it's not an interesting game, but you have to be in the cyberpunk vibe and wanting to have a humanity that's rebuilding itself back after a big cataclysm and an apocalypse and losing its home planet. So yeah. Talking about post-apocalyptic, let's keep on that theme, but let's go to all the times with a more diesel punk game. It's Planet Hurlant. Same, I don't know if this game has been published in English. And it's a mix between low fantasy and diesel punk, so Mad Max and all the kind. It's a game with a lot of tables to generate stories in a random manner. So you have a lot to improvise with. You don't have many built things in that game. You have all the tools to build a universe if you're the game master. It's really fun. And what I like the most with this game, beyond the aesthetic that I really like, sorry with the glare, but with a really Planet Hurlant, the comics, and it's really a fun vibe and art. It's not a PG game, as you could have guessed, but the compendium front cover I can't show you because even if it's quite tame, I don't think YouTube will agree with it, so you'll have to look for it. But yeah, in the book everything are tables and a character sheet is really simple. It's 5 stats and that's all you have. And maybe then after you have powers and some other things, but yeah, it's quite a old school system and I really liked it. The really funny thing in that game is that when a player starts the game, he generates 3 characters. They have to fight to death, and the last one standing is the character he will play as. Sorry. So yeah, that's quite funny. Next, alors this one, Chroniques oubliées, is an OGL 3.5, so it's the open game license of DD 3.5. It's made by Black Book Edition, so that's a French publisher again. I don't know if they translated it, but it's an open system. It's a system based on OGL where you can play a lot of modern settings. You can do horror inspired, so zombies and the like. You can go full pulp and play something like Indiana Jones or Iron Moon. Yeah, so those kind of things. The space Nazis have even are on the moon and things like that, and you can go full pulp. It's really funny. The Z genre, so yeah, that's the zombies. And then you can go in, and that's why I bought that game, that system. It's if you want to play James Bond games, that could be fun. That's fun. And a small module for superhumans. So if you want to play superheroes, I have another game. I don't think you can. So it's hidden, but it's Mutant Mastermind. It's a D20 game. It's really a really great game. I love it. But it's really quite complex to create character. I'll get to it later. But last game I presented when I did it in French, it was First Contact X-Core. So it's a D6 game, and just to put it simply, you play XCOM. That's it. If you want to have a role-playing game where you play XCOM, it's really just play that game and have fun, because it is. But you have to find players that want to build a base and defend Earth from alien threats. And as a bonus, I'm going to throw, again, I think it's a French-only game, sorry about that, but just to show you that we can make a few games. Luchadores. And it's a game inspired from the Lucha exploitation movie genre. That's from South America, if I'm not wrong, where it was really popular in the 50s to 70s, I think, when you had what was his name? I can't remember. Sorry. I'm a bit of I had a wrestling phase, wrestling's fun phase, so yeah, it was really a fun game, but it's more in a lucha style, so you can really have fun, and you fight monsters from like in those movies, so yeah, you will fight monsters and demons and everything like that. And you have powers from an old deity, and of course you have to wear a wrestling garb. That's the holy armor you have to wear to fight using those powers. So yeah, it's really fun, and if you don't take it too seriously, it's really fun. It comes with a small Gamemaster screen. It's really fun, and I think you can see the vibe of the game. So yeah, it's really a fun game. But you have to find players who like wrestling and that at least know a little of wrestling, how fights are made, and the move sets. Because if you don't, players are going to be lost. There's the publisher made a set of playing cards you can use to build your moves. But if you're not into wrestling, this game will fall flat and your players will get bored quickly. That's what I experienced. And so that's it for all the games I wanted to show you. And so just move on. 15. I think I just let me catch something. Okay, sorry, I was lost in the list. 15. Who would you like to game master for you? This one was really hard. I didn't really what to answer, and I still don't. I probably want to play with a professional GM. It's just to see once what's the level of the service provided and to compare against what I do. I know that there's a lot of things I don't do because I'm not comfortable with it, and so talking using changing my voice when I play a character, that's something I don't do. I don't usually use music because music is something that you often fumble with and kill the flow of the game just to play the correct music at the correct time. So that's something I don't do, but I'd like to try to see how it goes. So yeah. Next question. What would be your perfect game? I don't remember what I answered, and I didn't look back at my videos, so I think this one was one where I talked in circles because I didn't really know. Because the game I want, I already have. It's D20 because I like tactical fights, and if you play the 3.5 edition or Pathfinder first edition, you really have this option really built in depth, and you can go and build characters that are really interesting and have a really interesting fight, and the game is built correctly enough that you can do everything else around it, so you can roleplay. The game allows you to do it. You can do fights quite fast if you are willing to bend a bit the rules and adapt a few things. Like I'll talk about it. I've seen a video from a small French YouTuber about it, and he had a couple great ideas. I think I'll repeat them just so I'll share them, but I think those are common ideas. But yeah, the game, my idle game is already existing. So yeah, I know that's maybe not really original, but that's how I am as a player on role-playing games. So next question. Past, present, or future, when is your favorite game set? Again, I don't have a favorite game. I have favorite systems. Favorite system, sorry. That's again D20. The game I played the most in playtime, I think it's a close call between Pathfinder and a game I already showed you and I don't have around. Yep, it's somewhere, but I don't have it right now. So yeah, Warsaw. I played a lot of Warsaw because it's a really interesting game, and it's set. I haven't talked about it. I only talked about the system. So let's just give me a few notes on the setting. To do it simple, it's in a past that never happened. We are in the 60s or 70s, and World War I never ended. So that means no World War II. It's a fight between the Prussian, Germany, the Second Empire, and not the third with the small angry guy. No, not this one. No, the one before. And the other side you have the Russians that then became the Soviets, and they fight on Poland. Of course, they fight on Poland as always. And now the war is raging on for more than 60 years. 50 years, sorry. You have some Polish people that still live in the middle of this fight that only knew war, and the two sides in that conflict are trying to convince the Polish people that Warsaw and all Poland that doesn't exist anymore, just called Warsaw, is a peopleless zone where the two giants fights. The Polish people don't exist. Sorry. And there's this big. So you can play as soldiers on either side, and that's fine. But what I think is more interesting in that game is that you can play a Polish faction that's fighting for independence. So that means kicking the Germans and the Soviets out with really little, very little weapons and tools. They have to scrounge everything. They have to build base with what they find, and it's a really hard setting that will put your player in a really stressful situation, and you have to find players that really want to go that deep and in that bad of a situation, but you can really push and push your players and test the humanity of the character and often the player too, and it's really interesting in that setting. But yeah, it's a really dark and gloomy setting, and you don't. It's hard to play too often because the game is really lethal. A single shot can kill you. If it's a high-powered rifle, like a marksman rifle or sniper rifle, you're almost sure to be dead. And if someone is firing in automatic mode, so you get hit by a couple bullets, you're just dead, because you take something like 2 to 6 times what would kill any human. So yeah. And there are some paranormal things in that game too that are really interesting. I won't spoil them because it's really a fun part of the game. But let's just say the Soviet and the Germans have found a really strange way to try to shift the war. And unfortunately they didn't manage to do it. But they really went in 2 different ways that are really interesting. And in Warsaw itself, there are a few things that exist that are really dangerous. There's a sickness that turns people into things that you don't change the body shape, but you change the behavior of humans, and it's really interesting. And there are another one that turns you into metal. Yeah, there are really funny things in that. They are not anomalies like you could see in the Metro series, but yeah, there are a few strange things happening in that universe. Yeah, I could go on and on. This video is already 30 minutes long, so I'll keep moving. So, question 18. Where is your favorite place to play? That's easy because I already answered it. Home. Because usually it's a place where people are the most relaxed, where there are few things to be distracted by, unless there is a family or if there's work. But it's usually a place where people are the most calm and able to do things that they wouldn't do in another setting. So yeah, I think it's the best place to play. It's home, and if it's not home, then it's still home, but it's remotely online. I'm a big player on online. I really like this virtual tabletops, using virtual tabletops and other communication tools to play, and it's really interesting. Because even if you don't have friends close to you, you can still play. So yeah, that's really cool. But you miss a couple of things like interaction. If you're only in vocal, you can play, but it really needs to be a bit more descriptive. And if all your players have webcams or smartphones and can use OBS to make a virtual camera, you can have everyone with video, and it adds a bit to the game too, so it's better that way. But sometimes it's hard to convince player to turn on a camera. So yeah. Next question. Why has your favorite game stayed with you? Why my favorite game has stayed with me? It's easy because the system is really interesting and you can do a lot of things with it, I think. I'm talking about D20, of course. You can cover not just the medieval fantasy side of the game of RPGs, but you can do other things because D20 has been used and adapted to a lot of setting and a lot of games. You can even do Star Wars if you want, if I remember correctly. There's a D20 version of that. So yeah. And my favorite game, if it's not Warsaw, as I say, it's Pathfinder. It's usually not in the... it's usually in the settings that's in the game. And my favorite adventure path on it is Kingmaker. I was really happy when it became a video game because it's a bit of my cursed campaign when I'm mastering it, because I usually can't go beyond the second book because players are either really into the managing side of the game or really into the roleplay and adventure side of the game, but finding players that love both is really rare, and usually a year and a half and it's over. And I haven't completed the game because I play remotely, and when I play remotely the sessions are quite short, 2 to 3 hours once a week at best. So that's why I haven't been able to finish. I think it's a kind of game when you have to either play marathon session or to have player committed and can play for a couple years. Yeah, that's quite hard. But it's a campaign I love. So yeah. And moving on. So I'm on question 20. How long do your game last? I just answered the question. 2 to 3 hours at most, usually. Unless it's IRL game where every player are around the same table, then usually it's an afternoon, so 4 to 6 hours at best. And there's usually a big break in the middle because you can't have people focus that long. That's not possible. Usually you can do 45-60 minute session and have a small break because your player will shut off and be out of the game for 10 to 15 minutes if you don't do that. So yeah, that's all up here usually. Next question. Settings and share an intriguing detail from the game setting you enjoy. I shared something about Warsaw again, and I already told you. So it's about the paranormal side of things. I can throw a few of other things because, for example, Russians are using some Tesla weapons, not the brand, the inventor, Nikolai Tesla. And German are building some giant fortress town tanks. Think of the mouse, but even bigger. If it can't drive using roads, it have to go through buildings, and it's really a monster. You don't have much of those Überpanzer on the field, but when you see them, you just can do only one thing, is run. There are very few things capable of destroying that thing, and one is something that exists on the Russian side, but I won't talk at all because it's really an interesting but hidden fact of that universe. The other quite secret thing in that universe is that, but it's more urban legend side of things, so people talk about. So I'll share it with you too. Germans are supposed to use psionics, and they have found what they call Übermensch, Yeah, I know. And they have quite a lot of power. Some are really, really scary, but that I can't talk about because no one yet lived to tell the tale. So yeah, that's it. Who is your current character? Okay, so this starts a cycle that is more about the game setting I'm creating than character I'm playing, because I don't play character. Actually, I have. But I'm sorry. I'm just looking for something in parallel. So yeah, okay. What I was looking for, what I'm talking about is the setting I'm creating. As I already said, a D20, 2D20. Sorry. So like Conan, like Star Trek Adventures, or the version of the system I'm using is from Dishonored. Sorry. But the character I will talk about and I will use for all those questions is Wilhelm Decker. I call to shorten to Willy. Sorry. And yeah, it's a German name because it's a German setting. It happens. The setting is called, for now, Silbertal. So the Valley of Silver, if I have to translate it. And it's in late Middle Age, if I have to put it in a place that we know. And it's the start of a fantasy game in a cataclysmic way. Because at the start of the game, magic doesn't exist, or is incredibly rare. It's absurdly rare. Players can't be magicians at the start. The few magicians that exist, if they were transposed in Dungeons and Dragons, they would be level 1 or level 2 mages, and so they level 2 or level 3 mages, so they would cast first level magic at most. So yeah, it gives you an idea of how magic is out of humanity's reach. But something happens, magic comes back. The players that have an affinity with magic have also are part of a few people that have traces in their blood of fantasy races, so dwarves, giants, and the like. And everything from this universe comes from a Germanic culture, because that's what I want to explore, because we have a more English side of fantasy from the classics, but Germany, the German culture has a lot of really interesting and I'm missing my words. So yeah, Germany has a lot of myths that are really interesting, and I want to promote a bit. So yeah, I'm working on this, and I have a few books back there that talk about myths and legends of more local things, so from Alsace, but or even a bit larger zone. But yeah, I want to share this. So yeah, back to Willy. So who is the character? Willy is a merchant. He's currently, when everything starts in the game, he's on the road going to a mining village, one of the biggest silver mine of the region, when everything happens. So yeah. Next question. What situation is your character currently in? Sorry. So as I said, he's walking with his cart and his horse toward that village. When what happens is a big cataclysm happens, and to describe it best, imagine it's a massive sinkhole that swallowed a good side of a mountain. Of course, the village is completely gone. destroyed by the sinkhole, and the only thing that's left in that sinkhole is that there's a ominous red glow at the bottom of it, and you can't see anything else. And no, it's not lava, of course. So once he gets up and realizes he lost his cargo and his horse, he only has one thing to do: keep walking. He's almost at his final destination, the town of Silborg. And yeah, that's what he has to do. Next question. When did you start playing this character? So I started working on that character about a year and a half ago. When I wanted to explore the setting, I created a character, and I created this character and the heroes that will be that will be the main focus of the story. But my idea was to create something like a Jack Burton style character, but not without the comedy. Yeah, and that was my goal. So yeah, I talk more about him in the next question. Where has that character been? So that's easy. He's a merchant, so he went in all the Silvertal region, north to south, south to north. Sorry about that. Yeah, mostly for his job to earn a living. But yeah, he hasn't gone really that far away. So that would be what, 150 kilometers at best, and that's 4 days of travel. So yeah, he hasn't traveled more than a week away from his hometown. So yeah, that's it. Why does your character do what they do? That's easy, because they have to. He's doing this job because he's at odds with his family. He has a wife and a kid on the way, and so his family, his father, he's a merchant, so he just do the same because he was born into the trade, and that's it. And why he acts the way he does on the moral standpoint, sorry, I can't talk anymore. It's a bit long. Is because that's what he learned. That's what his religion tells him to do. That's what his parent taught him. So yeah, it's like that. It's really a simple character, but it's the base, and maybe a bit of a moral support, a moral pillar for the adventuring group. So yeah. Next question. I was saying, how has the character changed? So what I intend to do with this character is to find a couple of heroes. Come across a couple of heroes. The first heroes he will come across are the two survivors from this small mining village. It's a small girl and a young male. Sorry. They have to go to Silborg, so he's just accompany them, and he'll follow them. They will go with him for a bit more and later adventures. But the idea is to have to deal with those two kids, because even if the one is almost a man, he's still a kid. They have to deal with the huge loss they just suffered, and he will have to juggle those two kids that will be, where he will become a father figure of sort, and his kids that he has that are on the way. So yeah. So that's how the character will change. We'll have a lot of people he will be responsible for, and he will have to maybe see things differently and maybe have the occasion to do something that will renew contact with his family. So yeah, that's how things are going to change for him. And so let's go on Style Sunday. I did a bit of a change on that question because I didn't want to tag friends again and do a lot. What I did is talk about the cover of 2 RPGs I played and I really loved because they were really, really figurative and explained really well the game. It was the covers of Vampire the Masquerade. I tried to insert it here. And here, Werewolf the Apocalypse. I played those 2 games. I like the World of Darkness in its whole. I'm not much of a fan of Vampire because playing politics is not something that's fun for me. But I get why it's fun. I get it. And the covers really describe really well the 2 universe of the 2 setting, because the vampire you have the really nice marble and the rose, so really classy aesthetic for the vampire that are under the masquerade, and on the other side you have a big tear mark with and it's really the beastly side of things, and this I really like, and it talked to me, and I really, it's a game that I really like, Werewolf. I've been introduced into that game by a friend that is really passionate about it, because he really likes to explore the animist side of the spirit world side of thing, because it's really one of the strong side of Werewolf. So yeah, that's really fun, and then there's this mystic side of the game that's not just they are not just eco-terrorists or just big meatheads that just rape and tear everything. There's something else, and it's really interesting to explore. On the vampire side, it's really interesting too. I played the 2 video games that were out on that setting, so Bloodlines and the earlier one, I don't remember the title, but yeah, those are really fun, and it's fun to explore. But yeah, this court backstabbing is really not my thing. Moving on. Who would you like to see take part in RPGaDay? I borrowed the answer of a friend because it was really an interesting one. He said he'd like to see Henry Cavill answer those questions, because Henry Cavill is a star that is well known enough to the public that maybe a good chunk of the people would listen to him talking about role-playing games. I know he's quite a geek. He's a PC gamer too. He built his own system, I think. So yeah, he could do something like that. It would be really funny. And on the French side, it would be I said I'd love to see Alexandre Astier talk about RPGaDay. He's best known for Camelot, humoristic series that he made for TV quite a while back. He released a movie last year. I don't have the Blu-ray next to me, so I can't show it to you. And it's a 2-parter. The first part has already been released. The second is about to come out, or hopefully soon. And it's a different take, a humorist take on the Arthurian myth. So yeah, it's quite interesting, this guy is really a big nerd too. So yeah, I'd love to hear him say he played all RPGs and answer RPGaDay. Next question: what should RPGaDay do for its 10th anniversary next year? Sorry. I'd say do more of the same. It's my first year. I don't have any good ideas or proposition to make. Just say maybe for a couple more questions to have alternatives if you don't like the 30 question you have, like I had to do in the question 28 for Style Sunday. But you can always manage to twist the question enough to find something to talk about. So I really don't know. It's about time we finish because my voice is starting to go down. So, when did you first take part in RPGaDay? Easy. This year, 2022. I may go back and try to answer a few questions for previous years. I don't know if I'll do them in English too, because it's a lot of work. We are already past 1 hour. I have a few editing tasks to do to that video, so yeah, that's a lot of work, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it often, but I'll try. But one thing is certain: next year I'll do it again, because it was really fun, and I want to do it again. And I'm going to skip the gaming stories because beyond some questionable jokes, I don't have anything back in that jumps in mind right now. I could talk about the settings I played during my GURPS era because some were really fun, but beyond that, I don't have anything. And as I said, it's been almost an hour. It's been past an hour now. So yeah, I think it's time to end this video. I don't even know if anyone will still watch this, but I really hope you do, and thank you really a lot if you did, because I did this video to share my point of view, my opinions with a lot more people, and the main body of people that are doing RPGaDay, and it's in English, so yeah. So before I conclude this video, as I did in all my French videos, I say it's an RPGaDay video. So if any of the question I just answered interest you, you want to answer them, just go do it. Turn off the camera. You use your smartphone as I'm doing right now. I just bought a small stand and a small light, and here we go. And I have the mic I'm using for my computer, and I'm done. Just go do it. If you don't want to film yourself, just record yourself if you want to. If you don't want to, write about it, share it on a forum, a Discord community, or somewhere else where people play RPGs who are curious about RPGs. Don't be scared to share your opinion and your passion, because when you listen to passionate people, the people listening to you tend to stop and give you their full attention. So don't be scared. Talk about RPGs. And so this concludes my video. This first marathon of a video. I don't know if I'll do a lot of those because they are hard, but they are good practice in English for me, so I guess there's a good positive for me. So before leaving you and seeing you in the next video, I don't know when that will happen because I don't know what I'm going to do with this channel besides waiting next year for RPGaDay. I'm just going to say you Bisbal. See you next time.